These nudes are coming along.
Yikes.
Noodles, David.
Yeah, I know.
Send nudes. Noodles. That's like a joke that a real foodie makes. Hello, I'm Alison Roman. Welcome to Home Movies. Today, we are going to be making a pork noodle soup. When we were like talking about what would you, when we were talking,
Classic third recipe of the day.
yeah, this is classic bull. When we were discussing what recipes to make for this, David was like, what about that pork noodle soup? And I was like, which pork noodle soup? Because I've written recipes for like a few different types. It's like a tale of two paths, right? Like we have pork as the guiding light, the guiding principle. Ground pork can really take us a lot of ways. On the one hand, we could do broccoli rabe and little radiators and cheese. And on the other hand, we could do pea shoots, rice noodles, and onion. Both have garlic. One of them has ginger. They both have chili.
You're really telling a visual story here.
I know. This is cool. I'm into this bit. Long story short.
Is it a long story short?
Long story long. We're gonna go with this one. So bye-bye to this, but I'll eat all this food. It will not go to waste.
Always in our hearts.
Yeah.
Rob.
Okay, time to party. Hello, welcome to, no, I'm just kidding. We already did that. There's not a ton of knife work here. It's mostly just slicing up some garlic, ginger. I like to use the onion not to cook with, but to sort of garnish on top raw. If you've ever had pho at a Vietnamese restaurant, I feel like that is to me, like defining moment in the soup eating experience when it comes to the table. And the onions are placed on top raw. They're encouraged to give up more of their aromatics and like they sort of perfume the broth with like a raw onion flavor, which I cannot get enough of. 8 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced. This is a toasted garlic soup. This is not just like softened garlic. I'm gonna thinly slice these. The idea being is that we get little slivered garlic, like toasted chips. And when you're intentionally toasting garlic, I feel like there's a real flavor difference between just like using it as a base aromatic. You can use olive oil, but I prefer neutral oil. We're at like a medium-high heat. I don't need to like wait for that to get hot or anything. I'm just gonna add the garlic right to the pot. I'm gonna get some water on because we're gonna cook some rice noodles. And I just cook my rice noodles like pasta. I'm just gonna use like a medium-ish pot. I like this oil.
What is it?
It's an oil they're making from fermented plants. It's neutral, tastes like nothing. Will you come over? Come on over. Come on over, baby. Hey, boy, don't you know I got garlic. Going on. All right, I'm gonna kill the heat on this, and I'm going to just take the spoon, take the garlic cloves out, leaving that fat behind, which now has been blessed by the flavor of toasted garlic. So now everything we cook in this oil will have a kiss of garlic. All right, now I'm gonna add the pork. Heat is back to medium-high. All right, we'll break this up a little bit, but we're gonna let it get really nice and brown before anything else happens. As per usual, I'm not gonna be using chicken broth, but I am gonna be using water combined with Better Than Bouillon. That said, if you didn't even have this, in my opinion, the soup is flavorful enough to just use water. You know what, I'm gonna not even use this. Let's cut that. I mean, I do love it for another time, but this, I truly believe in the power of pork, soy sauce, garlic, and onion and ginger. We're not looking for like super tiny bits of meat, but we also don't want huge lumps. So just break it up casually. I have a piece of ginger. It's very sweet looking, and I'm just gonna peel it with my knife just to get rid of those little lumps. I know you can use a spoon. Please don't tell me that. A pork pot, woo! All right, we're getting there. I don't want to go too brown here because then I find that the pork has a tendency to dry out. But I am trying to get like a little bit of color because that equals flavor. And I think that every time you cook meat, unless it's to like fully braise it, like it's so fatty it can really take it. I think that's like a choice that you always are forced to make of like, okay, how do I get the maximum amount of color on something, which equals flavor, without cooking it to hell, which dries it out. You want juicy and colorful. Don't we all want juicy and colorful for everything in life? I have had people make versions of this using turkey or chicken, and it's worked great. So if you don't eat pork, know that those two are available to you as an option here. All right, so this is good actually. You see how some of the parts are like really nicely golden brown. You see there's like that fond building up on the bottom of the pot. That will all assist in the future flavor of our soup. But there's still some like nice clusters that are on the fair side. I'm gonna add chili flake, about a teaspoon. This is a spicy soup. If you want less, that's fine. You could also use something like a fresh chili if you wanted instead of the dried. And as always, we're just sort of blooming that spice in the fat. We're gonna add tamari. Whenever I can, I use tamari only because it's already gluten-free, and if anyone happens to be eating it that is gluten-free, like I don't wanna make things more complicated by just adding soy sauce when I could just use tamari. And now I'm gonna add 4 cups of water. And after you add that soy sauce or tamari, you should be able to like scrape up most of the bits in the bottom, but any of the residuals will come up after you add the water. So just kind of cruise the bottom of your pot with the bottom of your spoon to like scrape up all the energy in the pot. The energy in the pot. The energy in the pot. So we have our onion, we have our ginger. Both are basically going in raw. And we have our cilantro, which we'll use as like a garnish. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna add some of the stems now so it can simmer with the broth. Cilantro stems have a lot of flavor. And for whatever reason, like we sort of toss our herb stems. You know that I don't. You know that I like to eat the herb stems. But this is like a nice way to use them. Next time you're making a soup or a stew or a braise, finely chopping the stems and adding it as things cook, sort of like you would a finely chopped clove of garlic or an onion, is a really nice way to add like additional sort of like really rich coriander-y flavor. And I feel like in a soup like this, especially where it's like, okay, not that many ingredients, doing little things like this where you already have the cilantro as a garnish is like a thoughtful way to add additional flavor without having to buy another ingredient. This is gonna simmer for like, honestly, like 5 minutes. It doesn't really need to cook that long. The magic has already begun to happen. It is happening. We're not trying to boil it. We just kind of want like a gentle cook. A gentle cook. Effectively what we're just waiting for is for all the flavors to come together, the fat to kind of emulsify into the broth. Wow, that tastes good already. Delicious. So good. I'm gonna add a little more soy sauce. Tamari's a little bit thicker, a little bit sweeter than soy sauce, so adjust accordingly. But for my money, if I'm cooking with like a protein and I want something fast and I'm like, I only have pantry stuff for the most part, like ground pork goes such a long way without you having to do a ton. Like it just inherently has a lot more flavor. I'm not really a ground beef person, but I am really a ground pork person. All right, onion, you can slice it any way you like. I'm gonna do little rings. All right, onions for garnish, gorge. And then I'm gonna grate this ginger. I'm gonna do like an inch of a knob. I like my soup very, very gingery. And again, I'm just using a microplane. I don't know if I said again. I haven't used it at all today. I just using a microplane. But if you don't have a microplane, you can just finely chop. I'm gonna add the old rice noodles. And I'll use about half the package here. Let's call it 8 ounces of noodles. Because this is 16 ounces, and that's half, is 8. Rice noodles have a tendency to overcook really, really quickly, and they kind of start to dissolve and turn to mush. So keep an eye on them. This says about 4 to 6 minutes. These pea shoots, let's talk about those for a second.
It's a real treat. If you ever see pea shoots on any Asian restaurant you're at, always order them. They're never not good.
They're always good. They're my #1 order at every restaurant. Wu's Wonton King in Chinatown. Pea shoots every time. They have a lot of flavor, like sweet pea flavor, actually, like a snap pea or something, or like an English pea even. The greens wilt down hardier than a spinach, but more delicately than a kale. And the stems, which you can see here, stay like pretty crunchy, but they're hollow, right? So it's like, they're actually quite easy to eat. It's just like a perfect thing to add to soup at the end to like just quickly wilt. It gives you texture, it gives you vibrant color, it gives you like almost like a slight sweetness. To me, like #1 leaf to put in a soup, hands down. Second to
guys,
none.
Congratulations, pea shoots.
You did it! We love you! Yeah! We love you! Great. Unhinged. All right, these need another minute or 2. But they're just about ready. It's time to add the pea shoots and the ginger. I'm gonna add about 4 big handfuls. That's like, let's call that 4 cups of pea shoots. If you're using a different green, you can kind of measure it the same way. But I always say like, add some, let it wilt, Add some, let it wilt. See like where you're at. These, again, another reason I like them is I don't feel the need to tear or cut them. They're already in a really nice, beautiful, like kind of compact shape. But if you are using something like a kale or a mustard green, you're gonna wanna tear those leaves into like 2-inch pieces. I added about, like, I would call that like a generous 2 tablespoons of grated fresh ginger. Again, I really enjoy like the potent gingery flavor that it brings. Let's also change it to 6 cups of water. 6 cups of water all day, chef. These noodles are done. I'm gonna fully drain them and then rinse them with cool water. I don't want any extra starch in the soup, which is why I rinse these noodles. When you're cooking with something like a wheat noodle, like if you're making pasta, you never wanna rinse the pasta because you want to retain that like residual starchiness because that's what thickens the sauce, but that's not our objective here because we're making a soup, so no need. I'm gonna add another handful. Sorry, but the pea shoots make this. We'll bring it back up to a simmer. We'll taste it. It tastes so good. It tastes very complex. It's a very gingery. It definitely did not need that chicken broth. You can always add the noodles to the soup, but I sort of just prefer to keep them separate in the event of, I don't know. I'm also eating soup for one a lot. If you wanted to eat this as is, don't let me stop you. I know it would be counterintuitive for many to eat this over something like tofu, but I think pork and tofu is one of the world's greatest combinations, a la mapo tofu.
That's great.
Thanks, Dan. I mean it. And don't forget our little garlic chips. Do you see how fun? I'm fully sweating, but honestly, the soup still tastes really, really good.
When you watch this video in September, the soup will make a lot more sense than in the middle of July.
That's right. Know that when we're sweating in July, it's for soup in October. You can also always add the noodles here, like so, and let them like sit in the broth and serve it that way. This would be good with a little fish sauce in it.
Any final thoughts? We good? Honk if you like fish sauce.
And I do. So good. Also like very texturally stimulating. There's like juicy bits of pork. There's like chewy rice noodles. The pea shoots still have their texture, the garlic chips, the slices of onion, like there's a lot going on. Honestly, basically a salad with broth in it. It's a soupy salad. I'm gonna taste the nude.
Wow.
God, that laugh.
Joke for one.
Joke for one.